Hey friends, welcome back, and I hope you're all doing wonderful today. It's time for more Reddit stories about entitled people, Karens, and everything in between. So we're getting right into it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's begin. I will never sell something from my house again. Yes, I was and am a naive idiot to do it. Well, I just experienced the most terrifying and odd situation. I'm still in absolute shock. About 3 years ago, I sold 4 Blink Wi-Fi cameras that I didn't need anymore on Facebook Marketplace. Everything went uneventful that day 3 years ago. I took pics of them, added them to Facebook Marketplace, and eventually someone picked them up. At my house. Yes, I know I am a complete idiot to give away my address instead of at a public place. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I get this message from Facebook Marketplace from the buyer, 3 years later, that the cameras are registered to my email, and that I need to confirm what my email is so they can add their email. I'm reading it and thinking to myself that this is a very weird request, so I ignore it and go about my day. Well, just about an hour ago, I get an extremely loud and very mad banging at our front door. And what do I see on my front doorbell camera? The man I sold the camera to. I ask him to leave through the doorbell camera, and he says the camera doesn't work, that he was on with Blink for hours and that he wants his money back. 3 years later, I tell him to get off my property again, and he is irate. I let him know that if he doesn't get off my property, I will be calling the police. In the end, he leaves, but what the heck? This will be the last time I stupidly give my address as a meetup location. Please heed this as a warning. Yes, the first thing I did before selling the cameras was unlinking them from my account and deactivating the account. I ended up reaching back out to the man per some recommendations on here, unblocking him on Messenger, and found out he was having password issues setting up his account and was not meeting the minimal requirements. He was an older guy and not so good with tech. He ended up apologizing and apologized for his actions, and that he was angry in the moment. He admitted he should have approached it better. Entitled rear-ends me and ends up getting arrested. This happened to me when I was 18. I had just bought my first car about a week earlier and was driving over to my then-girlfriend's house. As I was driving along the road in front of a row of terraced houses, a door opens and a kid darts out of the door. Not knowing if they were planning on stopping or not, I slammed my brakes, stopping dead. The kid had turned and carried on along the pavement, so apparently wasn't heading into the road. Anyway, in my sudden stopping, I really didn't give a crap what was behind and got rear-ended. Nothing too serious, both cars drivable, just bent bumpers. The woman in the car behind, who was in her late 30s, came out of the car screaming that I could have killed her and her kid. She was alone in the car, so no idea where the kid came from. Being 18 and having only had my car a week, I just went right to the formalities of exchanging info. The woman wouldn't even entertain that idea, and kept shouting about how I better effing pay her for the damage and emotional distress. Otherwise, she'll call her husband, who will come and F me up. I then pointed out that we need to exchange info, and threatening me will just mean I ring the police. Mentioning the police really set her off into a tantrum about my attempted murder of her and her kid. Again, no kid there. I missed most of it because I was on the phone talking to the dispatcher. As soon as the police turned up, it instantly switched from ranting and raving to running up to the officers in floods of tears about this 18-year-old guy bullying a poor mother after causing her to crash. The officers spoke to both of us, ran our details, and wouldn't you believe it, her car had no MOT, mandatory safety test here in the UK. That set her off, screaming at the officers about them being wrong and needing to speak to the sergeant. I completed my mandatory breathalyzer and showed a whole 0, and the officer took down my details. The entitled person, however, was busy screaming at the officers that their machine was wrong and how dare they accuse her of drunk driving. She got arrested for failing to provide a sample, and in the process of the arrest, got a resisting arrest tacked on. Once they got her in the van, and arranged a tow for her car since she wouldn't be moving it, the officer came back and gave me all her details, and said they would put mine against the log, so her insurance company could find it, but she couldn't. Her insurance paid out for all my damage, plus some medical because I was damn sore a few days later. I was called to be a witness in court. She got a 1-year driving ban and a £500 fine for the failure to provide a sample and resisting arrest. So in summary, Rather than providing me with her name, address, and insurance carrier, she instead got banned from driving, a fine, and had to provide me with her name, address, and insurance carrier. A teacher harassed and put her hands on me because she thought I was a middle schooler. I, 19 female, look really young without any makeup on. I'm a freshman at college, and my classes are spread out on campus. I am Asian as well, so it adds extra to the baby face. This did happen a few months ago, but I think it's a funny story to tell. One day I was walking around for the first week of the semester, heading to my Latin class, and apparently there was a field trip going on with middle schools to see the potential college the students may go to in the future. I didn't think too much of this because I had better things to focus on. On my way to class, which was a 5 to 7 minute walk from the classroom I was coming from, there was this teacher walking with a bunch of middle schoolers wearing red t-shirts to identify them. And I happened to wear a light red crop in that moment with a red zip-up jacket. I also wasn't wearing any makeup because I overslept that morning. This teacher saw this, came over to me, there was like a 10-foot distance, and asked what teacher I was supposed to be with. She looked super pissed and thought I wandered off, but suddenly she pulls down my zipped-up jacket to reveal the rest of the cropped shirt. Obviously I was shocked and asked what the hell she was doing. But she started telling me off about how inappropriate I was with my language, and that I would get disciplined for damaging the shirt. She grabbed me and attempted to drag me to her class group. I was baffled, but I wasn't going to let this old lady try to do this to me, so I started yelling, "I'm a 19-year-old, let me go." She scoffed and I was speechless. She said that it was a bluff, and she wasn't going to fall for that. At this point, all of the middle schoolers were staring, confused. Thankfully, there was another professor who saw this commotion and sent a security officer over to the area we were at. I didn't notice this happening, but I was told after this was over. In that moment, I really thought that I was going to be forced to be with the group, until the security guard shouted from afar. The kids were still just there watching the awkward silence from me and their teacher. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking and quickly shoved her arm away from gripping me and ran to the officer. The teacher tried to explain herself that I was a student and he immediately stopped her. He scolded her for physically putting her hands on me and asked me for my side. I explained quickly that I was a student of the university and that this woman harassed me thinking I was a student from the field trip. I even showed proof with my university ID and the teacher's jaw dropped. She had to give her info to the officer just in case as well. After 10 minutes of discussing, she was forced to apologize, to pass it off as a misunderstanding. BS. And the security officer just watched as I stood there. Eventually I was sent to class, and before I did, the officer told me he came because of a professor nearby. He did ask earlier if I wanted to file a complaint, but I refused and he wrote inside of his little writing pad. He told me if I did want to file a complaint to let him know, because he ended up giving me the teacher's name and what school she worked for. I saw the teacher in the distance and we made eye contact. She gave me one last glare and that was the end of it. I thanked him and I went on with my day. I'm pretty sure my event was a commotion with the younger students, because if I saw this as a middle schooler, I would definitely talk about it. I don't know what happened with that teacher after she ran back to her students though. I remember having bruises from how hard she gripped me. I should have had her arrested for the sake of her students. Update. I did put in a tip to the middle school's office this morning. All I got was an, "Oh, okay, thanks," which was wildly alarming considering I said a specific teacher was violent to me a while ago. I think it's better to directly contact the school to investigate. However, unlikely as the schools in the area I've lived in aren't great and safe schools. I live in the worst state for safety. The reason why is just because that security officer cared to share the info with me doesn't mean the police department would care. I don't have any pictures to back up my claim and I never told anyone I got bruised or even attacked on campus. So unfortunately, that was my fault. I didn't think of it in the moment. When a man will only speak to a man. I own a business in the hospitality and tourism industry for outdoorsmen. I have not been unprofessional or unkind to the men requesting my husband. I oblige and take a message and have him contact them back. My point of this post is that it is getting old and I don't personally want to deal with this on a weekly basis for the rest of my time owning and running this business. I run a business with my husband, with most of our customers being men, in a male-dominated industry. I have worked my butt off to be where I am and to have the knowledge I have. I have 10 plus years experience, with us purchasing and running this business together for 7 years. The amount of times when I am on the phone with a customer and he says the following: "Is your husband there? Can I talk to him instead? Isn't there a man who does this with you? Can you get your husband to call me back when he gets in? Can I speak with the business owner?" My new personal favorite: "You just seem a little inexperienced. Where is your husband? Who even runs this business for you?" I apologized to the man and kindly asked him why he felt that I was inexperienced, because I had answered all of his questions in detail, even though he spoke over me, every single time, as soon as I'd open my mouth. He backpedaled and claimed he didn't say that, he just wanted to speak to my husband instead. I'm just getting really tired of being treated like I'm stupid or that I didn't know what I'm doing when it comes to my business. That's going to be all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel for more if you haven't already. So have an awesome day, take care, and I'll see you next time.